What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some wide receiver versus DB one-on-ones from our camp that we had in Seattle, Washington. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a DB or any position for that matter and would like to get faster, check out that very first link in the description below where you could get access to 75 plus speed and agility drills, all organized into specific categories for you guys, and we give you the exact sets and reps to follow for each drill. These drills are going to help you with overall speed, explosiveness, your 40-yard dash, and also, like I mentioned before, we will give you the exact sets and reps to do so the info is easy to retain. So check out that very first link in the description below if you guys would like to get faster. Let's get started with this video. So this, at the end of every single camp that we run, we'll do a 2-day long camp. Each day of the camp, I should say, is 4 hours. In the last hour of the second day, we will go wide receiver versus DB one-on-one. So we'll invite some DBs out there. We obviously have a bunch of receivers, a bunch of quarterbacks out there, and this is kind of like the competition period of the camp. So these are 3 clips from our camp. We normally don't film these because, we want the receivers and the DBs out there getting reps. We don't want anybody to, not want to step up because they don't want to get embarrassed, things of that nature, right? Because, you see all the clips of all these exposure camps, college camps of receivers and DBs getting embarrassed and they go super viral. That's not what we're trying to do. I think these are 3 really good educational clips for you guys to learn a lot about how we should run routes, how we should play defense, and just make you a better overall player. So this first route here is going to be a route called a comeback and go route. So this is a great route to use against man-to-man coverage, but you have to make sure in a real game scenario, you know when this is actually going to work. So let's play this full speed. There's a receiver here named Caden I've been working with for a couple times. He's come down to California to work with me. He lives up in Seattle where this camp was, and then obviously he came out to the camp. So this comeback and go, this is a hell of a route, right? Obviously we get this DB to crash down on the comeback. The comeback and go is very important that you sell this comeback with your hips and your shoulders getting out of the break. Now, obviously when it's man-to-man coverage, usually what is a quarterback probably going to be getting? He's probably going to be getting a little bit of pressure, right? If he's getting pressure, normally a comeback and go is maybe not the best route to work. So when you work this route, you have to understand that this is a route that's either the quarterback's got like max protection, it's off a play action, maybe it's off of a sprint out, but he has some time to let this route develop. That doesn't mean that you can't use the route. That just means that you need to let it develop. So first and foremost, when we have man-to-man coverage and we're working any type of double move, whether it's a stutter go, whether it's a comeback and go, whether it's a sluggo, this DB in man-to-man is going to be watching what? He is going to be watching our hips. So when his eyes are on our hips, we have to be able to sell the route with my hips. So you see when Caden drops into this break, he breaks down, he drops his hips into the route, but the second step of this comeback and go is the most important. I would say the second and third step. So he snaps down, he gets low, he puts the brakes on, pivots off the second, third step, and you see how his hips and his shoulders are turning like he is actually running a comeback route. That's what puts this DB on alert because the DB is disciplined and he is watching our hips. So a lot of times what receivers will do on this type of route is they'll break down, but they just take like 4 steps or 5 steps or however many steps to sell it, but they never commit their hips and shoulders. Guys, a comeback route is a 45-degree angle breaking route, so your hips got to get out on that 45 degrees. So we break down here. You see how he pivots the second, hooks the third step. Now, is this too many steps? In a perfect world, I would like a comeback and go to be 4 steps. Right now, again, if these are a quick, I think he takes about 6 steps here. So let's break down the steps. He breaks down, that's 1, 2, 3. I would like for him to just plant off of that third step and jab with the fourth, and then he's up out of this break. But instead what he does, he takes that 4th, 5th, and then 6th step. So that's not incorrect. It just takes a little bit long. And we got to know, remember, it's man-to-man coverage. We don't have all day to work this type of move. So I would say try to eliminate maybe 2 extra steps on this break. You have to make sure that your hips and shoulders sell this movement to get this DB to crash, and then we could turn upfield to create that separation. Now, one thing I recommend, especially on a comeback and go, you never know in these situations too what kind of arm the quarterback has, if the quarterback can put the ball out there. But after you get separation on a double move like this, make sure that when you turn upfield, you don't look back for the ball right away. Because when this DB gets beat, he knows he got beat. So he's going to be doing whatever possible to try to recover. And when you're running already looking back for the ball, that automatically slows you down. So keep that head down for a few steps. Let's widen the distance from the DB, and then let's find that ball. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Again, you got to make sure we know the right situation to use this route. We want to try to limit the amount of steps at the break and make sure we keep that head down to accelerate through. Okay, so now this is a clip here from the same wide receiver going up against a different DB. This DB is actually pretty talented. Not his best rep, I would say, but this DB was actually having a pretty good day. Don't let this rep kind of fool you on the day that he was having. But this is going to be a corner route. Now, this specific route, to give you some background on this. So when we go one-on-ones, it is super important that we make things realistic. A lot of times in one-on-ones, what wide receivers will do is they'll line up super wide. They'll tell the quarterback, hey, I'm going to run a 10-yard out, and then they're running right into the sideline. So on this play, I told Caden to cut his split down, and I wanted to see how this DB played it. So I told him before the play, I told him he was going to be running a corner, and that's what he's going to be running. I told him to cut his split down, and I told him the DB is going to line up outside shade. I want to see what you can do when this DB is an outside shade press, because the DB in one-on-ones, he's smart. He's not an idiot. If you cut your split down, what are you probably cutting your split down to do? Probably to run an outside breaking route, like an out route, like a corner, maybe like a slot fade or a wheel, because you want to use the space that you created by lining up closer to the formation, right? So he's not an idiot. So he lines up like he's outside shade press. So let's watch what Caden does here. He does a great job of attacking the DB's leverage outside, taking an inside release to give the quarterback room to throw him open. Great adjustment on the ball, too. That is a hell of a rep right there. But let's talk about why he decided to do this, okay? So DB, his job in outside leverage. Protect the outside. Do not let the receiver run outside. Force him inside to where he has help. And since this is one-on-ones at one of my camps, we make it realistic. So if a wide receiver lines up and cuts his split down and then he goes and runs a post versus an outside shade DB and he just rounds it and just catches the ball like almost where the quarterbacks are standing, we call that dead. That's a point for the DB. The DB won that rep. You have to make it realistic, fellas, with what you're trying to do. So if you cut your split down, you better be running an outside breaking route or at least making it a realistic inside breaking route. So he comes off the ball. The best way to get a DB to move, the best way to get him to hesitate and jump to the outside is threaten him where he doesn't want us to go. He doesn't want us to go to the outside. So let's attack him to the outside. Let's move off the line. Let's actually push vertical. Let's step outside of his frame. Let's threaten him with an outside release because that's the best way to get him to move. He's going to think that it's an outside route, so let's attack to the outside. Because now I can take a free inside release. I avoided the jam. I avoided the hand contact. Guys, you got to understand from a DB's perspective, his goal is to disrupt timing and to disrupt spacing. So by timing, he wants to get hands on us because that screws up the timing with the quarterback. And by spacing, what he wants us to do is he wants us to just try to take off and run so he could squeeze us and cut down the amount of space that we have on the route. When you're comfortable taking an inside release versus outside shade press, even when it's an outside breaking route, that's how you could keep spacing. Now, when Caden works on this route, you see how he works to stack this DB. Stacking the DB is pretty much when the DB is trailing your back hip and back shoulder. You have put yourself like stacked over the top of him. He's trailing you, right? So he's watching your hips. So on a corner route, a great move that you could use is something called a rocker step. So a rocker step is essentially where you step in the direction you are going first. So if we have to run an outside breaking route, you step with your outside foot first. It's a hard cut. It's a sudden cut. It's inside your frame because we are trying to sell like you're running a post. It's essentially a 1-2 at the top of the break. So he makes this hard cut. He cuts inside plants, throws to the outside, hips, shoulders sell this movement because that's what the DB is watching. And then again, we give the quarterback room to throw us open with this corner ball by not forcing the inside release. That's a textbook move right there. That's exactly how this thing should be drawn up, and that's exactly how I would want this to be ran. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Caden attacking his leverage, taking the inside release, and then giving that move with plenty of room for that quarterback to throw us open. Okay, so now, next clip here. I apologize for the blurry start of this clip, but it gets a little bit clearer as the clip goes on. This is a wide receiver running an out and up, and he actually gets locked up on this thing from the DB. So this is a good rep for the DB, and it's a way for this DB to stay disciplined and have great eye discipline, I guess you could say. But there are a couple things that this receiver could have done better here. So let's play this full speed, and then we'll break it down. So he comes off the ball, takes this outside release, breaks to the out route, but I just don't think he sells this out route long enough to get separation. Was the ball a little late? Yeah, probably. Could the ball have been put more to the outside? Yeah, probably. There's no defense for a perfect throw, obviously. But I think from a receiver perspective, we could get more separation. So let's go back to it. So when you guys break on this out route for like an out and up, if you're running like a wheel route, let's say any double move, like a post corner, a sluggo, whatever it might be, Obviously, you got to sell this thing with three things. Number one, you got to have speed. You got to make sure that you are running hard to the first move. Number two, you got to maintain your stride. You can't be taking choppy steps. And number three, your hips, shoulders, and eyes have to commit. So you got to look back for the ball, and your hips and your shoulders got to sell like you're actually running this out route. But this receiver makes a crucial mistake that a lot of wide receivers make, is that he breaks to the out route. He takes his first step, second step, but before the third step gets down, his eyes start turning upfield, his hips and his shoulders start turning upfield before he cuts. That's not selling that move until the last possible second. You guys, like on an out and up route, you break, you're only taking 3 steps to the out. So you'd be stepping with the right foot, left foot, then cutting off of your right and turning upfield. So if you're only taking 3 steps, those 3 steps have to be an out route. Those 3 steps better be selling out the entire way through. So when he breaks to the out, you see how he cuts here, bam, 1, 2, but his eyes, hips, and shoulders only sold it for 2. I gotta sell it for 3. That's just long enough to get this DB to commit, try to get him to drive, and then we could get some separation over the top. But when we don't sell it to the last second, we're not gonna get as much separation as I could. Okay, so let's play this again full speed one more time. So make sure, fellas, on any double move, you have to make sure that you are selling the route. Sell it until the last possible second. Everything is that first route until it's not. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like 75 plus speed and agility drills that you guys can do, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to help you guys improve your speed and get you faster. Again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.